Okay. Okay, we're yeah.
Good morning, Jeff. We're starting on 12b,
Okay.
and we're going to start at the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Lechol kachatzi zayas. If someone does kamitza, means he does the scoop with his fingers on the mincha, and he thinks to eat a half a zayas of the remnants the following day. It's funny, if you actually read the text of the Mishnah, it leaves out the main point, but it's because the main point is self-understood, that he has these thoughts to eat it the following day, which is out of its allotted time, which makes pigul. But here he says, Lechol kachatzi zayas, it's only half of an olive size, so lahakter kachatzi zayas. And he's going to burn, or to offer up on the altar, a half a zayas. So it's kosher. That's going to be valid. She'ein achila v'aktarim mitzdarfen, because the eating, which is the remnants, and the offering on the altar, which is the burning, does not combine. So since it's only a half a zayas from each, so in order for it to become pigul, it needs to be a full zayas. So therefore, for size of an olive, so therefore it's not going to combine, and it's not pigul. Actually says that it's kosher. Okay. Now it's going to take a drop of concentration to follow this. We said that he's offering up, he's doing the kamitza. While he's doing the kamitza, he's having an intention to offer up half a zayas the following day, and he's having intention to eat a half a zayas the following day. Taima, what's the reason why this mincha is valid? The lechol ulahakter, because half a zayas was for eating and half a zayas was for burning, so it doesn't combine. Halechol v'lechol, davar shein darka lechol, then it would be mitzvah. But let's say he didn't have intention. Is that the right one? Is that? Oh wow, didn't see that. Let's say he had intention to eat a half a zayas of the remnants the following day, which is out of its time, and to eat a half a zayas of the kaimetz. See, on the mincha, there's a section of the mincha that's not eaten; it's burnt. It's the kaimetz, the scoop. The scoop is burnt. The scoop full, the hand scoop, that's burnt. So if he intends to eat what's supposed to be eaten, and he intends to eat what's not supposed to be eaten, a half a zayas of each, it's implied from the Mishnah that should combine, because the Mishnah says what does not combine is eating and burning. That sounds like if it's both eating, it would combine, even though he's eating something that's not meant to be eaten. But as long as it's eaten, that's what's implied. So what would not be eaten? The kaimetz itself, which the kaimetz, that scoop, is meant to be burned. Now, if that's the case, based on, in other words, the diuk of this Mishnah, what's implied from this Mishnah is that eating something that's not meant to be eaten would combine and would be considered pigul. V'haktani reisha. But the reisha of the Mishnah, the reisha means the first part, which means you go back to the beginning, to the previous Mishnah. We said over there that this is the rule. We said, lechol davar shedarke lechol, that if you eat or intend to eat something that's meant to be eaten, ulahakter davar shedarke lahakter, and you intend to offer something that's meant to be offered. Davar shedarke lechol in, shein darke lechol loy. We said that what makes pigul? Only something that's meant to be eaten, and not something that's not meant to be eaten. So we have a contradiction between what's implied from the last Mishnah to what's implied from this Mishnah. And the point of conflict is if the person would have intention to eat the kaimetz the following day, would that become pigul? Because from our Mishnah it sounds like yes, and from the previous Mishnah it sounds like not. Okay, so the Gemara explains Mantana. Who's the author of our Mishnah? Rabbi Yirmiyah. We're on 12b, towards the bottom. Rabbi Yirmiyah Hamani Rabbi Eliezer. Our Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. The Amar Mechashven me'achilas Adam la'achilas mizbeach me'achilas mizbeach la'achilas Adam. Rabbi Eliezer held in Zvachim, I believe. I remember this from Zvachim, or maybe not the basis of it. What is this, Tess? No, the basis, it looks like the basis is actually here. But it was definitely quoted in Zvachim that, from 7 years ago, that if you think about a half a zayas of each, of eating and a half a zayas of burning, they combine. But that's not going to fit with our Mishnah. Let's see what he quotes. The Tanan, as it says in the Mishnah, mincha. If someone does a kmitza on the mincha, lechel davar shein darka lechel, lahakter davar shein darka lahakter, that's going to be kosher. If he intends to eat something that's not meant to be eaten, and to offer something that's not meant to be offered, that's going to be valid. Rabbi Eliezer Paisel, Rabbi Eliezer says it's invalid. Why? Because Rabbi Eliezer holds that eating something that's meant to be burnt is also considered eating. And so therefore, although I can't combine burning and eating, but I can combine eating and eating even though one of them is meant to be burnt. That's what we're seeing from our Mishnah, together with that other Mishnah that's quoted. Who was the one that was explaining this? This was Rabbi Yirmiyah. Rabbi Yirmiyah is explaining that our Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. Why does he have to say that? Because our Mishnah says that what does not combine? Eating and burning. It sounds like eating and eating, even if it's not meant to be eaten, would combine. Who holds that? It's Rabbi Eliezer. Abaya Amar. Abaya says, Afilu Temer Rabbanan. You don't have to say that our Mishnah is the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer. So we don't like to do that. We don't like to make the Mishnah into one opinion. We always like to leave it as broad as possible. In the yeshiva, whenever you have to condense its application or anything, it's always the Hebrew term is a doichek, that you're squeezing it into one opinion or one case. You have this general Mishnah, it looks like everyone agrees, it looks like it's always applicable, and then you say actually it's only talking about this one thing. That we don't like to do that. So Abaya says you could say that it's the Rabbanan. The Mishnah does not say that if you're going to eat something that's not meant to be eaten, that it's going to combine with what is meant to be eaten to create pigul. It doesn't say that. It says that it doesn't combine, eating and burning doesn't combine. We implied, eating and burning doesn't combine, that must mean that eating and eating would yes combine. That was just an implication, but that wasn't stated. So Abaye says that implication is not correct. Just take what the Mishnah says and that's it. The Mishnah says that it doesn't combine eating and burning. And it happens to be that eating and eating something that's not meant to be eaten will also not combine. Ela ema, rather you should say, halechel v'lechel davar shedarka lechel. What is the Mishnah saying? That what will combine is eating something with something else that's meant to be eaten. The Gemara says, "My kamashmalan." Why is that a chiddush? Why do you have to say that? That we have clearly stated. Lechel kazayis bachutz and kazayis l'macher. Kazayis l'macher, kazayis bachutz. Kachatzi zayis bachutz, kachatzi zayis l'macher. Kachatzi zayis l'macher, kachatzi zayis bachutz is pasul ve'im bekaris. We said that if you're going to eat, whether it's one kazayas tomorrow and one kazayas outside the appropriate place, it's not going to be pigul. Why? Because whenever you have the kazayas outside, anything chutzim kaimai, that takes over, right? And it doesn't become pigul. Or if you had a half a zayas outside the allotted time and half a zayas outside the allotted place, that also combines. It also combines to make it not pigul. Even though one of them is a pigul thought, but because it's half a zayas, it's always the lesser one that takes over. That's how it works by Pigel. But we have a clear Mishnah that two thoughts of eating, which means a half azayas and a half azayas, do combine. They're both meant to be eaten, right? Two things. What we're learning here is that we're quoting a clear statement that a thought of eating something that's meant to be eaten, even a different thought, will combine with something else that's meant to be eaten. So our Mishnah that says that eating and burning does not combine, Abaya says, oh, that's implying that eating and eating something that's meant to be eaten does combine. The Gemara asks on Abaya, you don't have to tell me that eating and eating something that's meant to be eaten combines, because we know that from a clear statement in the Mishnah. So what is our Mishnah coming to imply? Okay. Hasulamali. What do we need it? What do we need this Mishnah for? Okay. Now this top page of Gemara, I realized as I'm reading it that I have to ignore what it says and just say what I think it should say, because it gets edited exactly to the opposite of what it says. With all the additions. So you have to sort of trust your intuition here, what it's meant to be.
So who edited it?
What happened here was.
And why do you disagree with the editing?
In general, in Kudshim, the printed edition is not as accurate, and so therefore they have these comments on the side that keep editing the text.
Going back to the original.
Going back to the text. It could be that there were generations where it wasn't studied as carefully, and so therefore we're missing. It jumped. We have Rashi and Tosfos, but Rashi also edits it. I'm not sure why that took place, but whatever the case, it's very clear that the text is much more difficult than the edited edition. It's much more difficult than if you're learning Baba Kama, Baba Mitzvah, Baba Asados. You just read the Gemara, and seldom you'll find something. Here, every page it's being edited. So it goes like this. What we're holding is that. Why do you have to tell me that you'll be able to combine eating with something else that's meant to be eaten? Let me read it over here. If it's coming to tell me that you're going to eat something and you're going to combine with that, you're going to eat something that's not meant to be eaten, Kamash Malanda Mitzvah, if it's going to tell me that it's meant to combine, and you're going to think that it should combine, but really it doesn't. From the beginning of the Mishnah we learned that something that's meant to be eaten does not combine with something that's not meant to be eaten. It says the kamashmal the mistarif. It's meant to say kamashmal the loy mistarif, and it's coming to teach me that it doesn't combine. We know already from the Reisha that it doesn't combine. Okay, where do we see that? And then you have this. You see the parentheses are telling me that the parentheses are really a commentary. It says a half azayas outside, half azayas tomorrow is puzzle. But a half azayas tomorrow and another half azayas tomorrow would be pigel. That means that it needs to be something that's meant to be eaten. That's what it means to say. Okay, so we're saying, well, so what's the chiddush of the sefer? If it's coming to tell me that you can't combine something that's not meant to be eaten with something that is meant to be eaten, that we know already in the Reisha. If it's coming to tell me that you can't combine something that's eaten together with something that is actually burnt, which is the higufa kamash malan, which is what it itself is saying, midyuka dereisha shamet minei. That I already knew. If it's just coming to tell me the thing, what it states, that you can't combine eating and burning. So that I know from what's implied from the Reisha. If you cannot combine something that's meant to be eaten with something that is not meant to be eaten, a half a zayas of each, you can't combine them. Why not? Because it's not meant to be eaten. One part is not meant to be eaten. Why? What is not meant to be eaten? The kaimetz, together with the remnants. So lechol ulahakter mibai. If you can't combine, and you're intending to eat both of them out of the allotted time, half a zayas of each, you can't combine the eating of both of them. For sure, you can't combine the eating and the burning of both. Lechol ulahakter mibai. Does it need to tell me that you can't combine eating it and burning it? Gemara says in. It does need to say that. Lechol ulahakter it's strichale. It needs to tell me that you can't eat and burn, that you can't combine what's eaten and what's burnt. Even though I could have understood that from the Reisha, that if you can't combine what's eaten with something that's eaten but not meant to be eaten, I still would not know that you can't combine what's eaten with what's burnt. Why? I mean, it could have entered my mind to say, Hasam hudalai ki orchei kamachashiv. Why over there can't you combine eating the kaimetz with eating the remnants? Combined to create a kazayas size. Why? Because you're eating, the eating of the kaimetz is not really edible. You're having intention to eat something that's not edible, because that's meant to be burnt. So that thoughts of eating it is not really considered a thought. Aval hacha, but in our case, you're intending to eat what's meant to be eaten. You're intending to burn what's meant to be burnt. So because that's the way that it's meant to be done, maybe that can combine. So what Rabbi is doing is saying that you're looking to read into our Mishnah much more than what our Mishnah is saying. All our Mishnah is saying is that you can't combine something that's meant to be eaten, a half a zayas of that, remnants, together with a half a zayas of something that's being burnt. So what? We could have figured that out from the Reisha. Why do you have to say that? You could have figured out in the Reisha. The Reisha says you can't combine something that's eaten together with something that's not meant to be eaten, and you're eating both of them, a half a zayas of each. It doesn't combine. For sure you can't combine something that's eaten with something that's burnt. That's the question on Abaya. Abaya says that no. Over there I know it doesn't combine because that half a zayas that you're eating of something that's not meant to be eaten, it's meant to be burnt, and you're thinking that you're going to eat it tomorrow, that is not edible. So that doesn't count. But over here, half a zayas of something that's meant to be eaten, together with something with a half a zayas that's burnt, and you're thinking about burning it tomorrow, it's meant to be burnt. You're not eating something that's inedible. That's the proper thing to do with it, to burn it. So I could think that maybe those two half a zayasim will combine to make this sacrifice pickle kamash malon, that it doesn't combine. So in other words, the statement of the Mishnah itself is the chiddush that the Mishnah wants to tell me. That would be the difference between Abai and Rabbi Yirmiyah here. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, no, it's going to teach me a chiddush, and the chiddush is Rabbi Eliezer. Abai says, no, the chiddush is exactly what it stated, that you can't combine eating and burning. Even though both of them are meant to be eaten and burnt, even though that's what's appropriate, it still doesn't combine. Okay, that's the first parak. We say, Bli neder hadron lach kol menachos, that we will return to this parak. Zok the Mishnah. This is the second parak. By the way, if you look on the side over here, if you remember yesterday's blot, yesterday was very hard. I don't know if you noticed that. It's extremely complicated. And Rashi was not helpful. I said that Tosfos was more helpful. Anyway, I turned the page today, and I see there's this whole section over here, which the note says, this section is meant to go back on yesterday's piece, this section which is printed in Rashi, which is not Rashi, it's his son-in-law's, son and grandson. Son-in-law and his grandson that worked it out. But anyway, printed on the wrong page. It doesn't get its... you follow, you see this big piece here? It was printed on the wrong page. It goes back to Daf Yud Aleph. Or Yud Beis. It goes back to Daf. Anyway. All right. It was the significance of printing the Gemara, the addition of printing, was that they were able to get the Rashis to fit to the page of Gemara and the Tosfos. It was a lot of work to fit it, that the commentary should be exactly on the Rashi was a separate book originally. It was called the Kuntras. It was just printed in a separate book. They had to work it out to get exactly that it should fit. In my days, we didn't learn printing in school, but my father tells me that in school that was a regular class. They had to learn printing.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah, they had to put the fonts on, and and
Hand thing. Set it by hand.
they would set it. They would have to
and
set
then
it.
they have to lay it out on the page. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hakai mitzvah mincha. If someone does kmitza on
No,
the
just a computer, that's it.
That's right. They would. And these people do it, just set it up, and they
Right.
don't do a good job because they have to reproduce the page 5 times.
yeah, I mean the reason why is because they want to keep the original text.
Right, so they should get all of the English translation onto one page that corresponds to that. Would be 4 pages of English, right?
Yeah,
Plus the footnotes.
I don't think it could
It
work.
wouldn't fit.
So, Hakai mitzvah mincha.
Unless you left out the vowels in the English, the way they do in Hebrew.
Aha. Yeah, right. Management Boulevard. Right. Someone takes a scoop of the mincha, right, the kaimetz, with his fingers, and his intention is lechol shirea, to eat the remnants, or lahakter kaimtza, or to offer that kaimetz itself, lemachar, the following day. Maider Rabbi Yosi b'zeshu pigel, v'chayav alav kares. Rabbi Yosi agrees that it's pigel, and Yechayev Karas, it's a regular case of pigel. Why does it say Rabbi Yosi agrees? Well, Rabbi Yosi is going to have an opinion shortly, which is going to differ with what the rabbis say is pigel. But this case he agrees to. Let's say, this is the case, Lahaktir levaynasa lemachar. He takes the kaimetz, and his intention is, while he's taking the kaimetz, that tomorrow I'm going to bring the levina, the incense, the frankincense that comes along with it. Rabbi Yosi Yomer Pasal Vein Bekar. Rabbi says that's not pigel. We're going to see the reason why. The Chachamim Aimrim pigel. The Chacham say it is pigel. V'chayav anav kares. Yechayev kares. Amrulai. They said to him, the rabbi said to Rabbi Yosi, Mashina zemena zevach. Why is this different than a regular sacrifice? If you slaughter a sacrifice in order to, with intention, to offer up the limbs the following day, that's a regular case of pigel. Here you're taking the kaimetz, that's like the slaughtering, and you're having intention to offer a section of the sacrifice tomorrow, that's pigel. What's the difference? It's a regular sacrifice that you offer a part the following day, and that's pigel. So Amar Lahan, he responds, that's one organism. The blood, the flesh, the limbs that get offered, they meant all to get offered that day. Levina ain't in a mincha. The levina is not part of the mincha. This frankincense is not part of this. Okay, we're going to see in the Gemara. The Gemara is going to amend it slightly. The Gemara asks, Lama li lamisna moider Rabbi Yosi bezu. Why does it need to teach us that Rabbi Yosi admits to this? Gemara answers, Mishum the Kabbalah misna seifa. Because it wants to say in the seifa, Lahaktir levaynasa lemachar, that if he does the kmitza in the flour, the scoop in the flour, his intention is to offer the incense the following day. Rabbi Yosi Yomer Pasal Vein Bekar. Rabbi Yosi says that there's no pigel there. Mao de Tema, I could have thought, time of the Rabbi Yosi, that was the reason for Rabbi Yosi. Mishum de Kasav Arim Mafaglim B'Chatziyah Mater. That he can't make pigel if it's only half of the mater, which means I have 2 things here that I need to do. I need to offer up the kaimetz, and I need to offer up the incense. And vafilu reisha nami, and in the reisha as well, in other words, in the first case of the Mishnah, that if you do kmitza with the intention to offer the kaimetz, the offering of the kaimetz, in a different time, I could have thought that maybe offering of the kaimetz is half, and the kmitza is half. So I could have thought that maybe the offering of the kaimetz is half the mater, just like the levina is half the mater. And so Kamash Malan de Bahamayda, it's coming to teach us that he does agree that his reason is not because ein mefaglim b'chatzi amater, that half of the permitter does not create pigel. He has a different reason, which we're going to see shortly. But it's important that he tells us that it tells us to us because we could have thought that the reason was different. Okay. Let's see what the actual reason of Rabbi Yosi is. Lahakti levaynasa lamachar, to offer the levayna on the following day, which means that he does the kmitza on the flour and oil, and his intention is that he's going to offer the frankincense on the following day. So the sages say that that's pigel. Rabbi Yosi says it's not pigel. Rabbi Yosi Emer pasel vein b'kares. Amar Rish Lakish. Rish Lakish says, Omer haya Rabbi Yosi. Rabbi Yosi says, Rabbi Yosi used to say. How does Rish Lakish know this? Must have heard it. Rish Lakish wasn't around by Rabbi Yosi. Rish Lakish is in the first generation of Amiraim, considered the first or second generation Amiraim in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Yosi was 2 generations earlier, because Rabbi, who was Rish Lakish's teacher, was a friend of Rabbi Yosi's son. So it's like a grandfather's age. His teacher, it would have gone. It's 2 generations back. So Rabbi Yosi would say, "Ein mater mefagel es mater." One mater, which is the kaimetz, does not make pigel to the other mater, which is the levayna. In other words, if you're thinking about while you're doing one service, you're thinking about how you're going to do the other service, that doesn't make pigel. You would need to think about how you're going to eat the remnants. But this is another mater. Mater, permitter, means something that's offered on the altar. Here you're thinking about you're doing the kaimetz, and you're thinking about how you're going to offer the levayna. But that's another mater. So you can't work from one mater to the other. And also you could say, with the 2 spoonfuls of frankincense, which are with the showbread, with the lechem apanim, shalechem apanim, she'ein mater mefagel es mater, that if he would offer one up with the intention of offering the other one out of its allotted time, that would not make pigel. The Gemara asks, "My bechinat omer." What is he adding by saying another example? He already said that ein mater mefagel es mater, and we have that with the kaimetz and the levayna. Why do we need the second case of 2 spoonfuls? One doesn't make the other one pigel. So Mao de Tema, we could have thought. It's interesting that the Gemara is explaining a statement of Rish Lakish, but it's Rish Lakish quoting Rabbi Yosi. You see, Omer haya Rabbi Yosi. It's the Gemara is explaining why in this quote do we have 2 examples of Rish Lakish is quoting Rabbi Yosi. Mao de Tema, what could I have said? Time of Rabbi Yosi, that the reason of Rabbi Yosi b'levayna, that why does the levayna not become pigel? Mishum delav mina de mincha, because it's not the same type of the mincha. The mincha is this flour and oil, and the levayna is separate. It's this frankincense. Aval b'shnei bezichi levayna, but by the 2 spoonfuls of frankincense, which are by the showbread, the mina dahadadi nino, that they're both the same type. Ema mefagli adadi. Maybe they would make pigel one to the other. Kamash malan, that's not the reason. The reason is not because they're the same type. There's several variables in why it's not becoming pigel. One of them could be that one is flour and oil and one is levayna. But if it would both be levayna, maybe it would become pigel. So therefore, he gives me another case where it's both levina to tell me that it's not the type, what it's made from, that changes it. What it's telling me is that one mater does not mefagel, does not make pigel the other mater. Could I have thought the time of the Rabbi Yosi b'levina lav mishum the lav mina de minchahi? Could I have thought, or do you think rather, that the reason for Rabbi Yosi is it's like a double knife, is not because the levina is not the type of the mincha, that it's not the same type? Vaktani seifa. But we have a conversation that was said in the end. Amrulai, the sages said to Rabbi Yosi, Ma shinsa min hazebach? Why are you saying that there's no pigel on the levina? Why is that any different than the sacrifice? Amar lehen, he says to them, Hazebach damul b'sayir ve'imur v'echad. By the zebach, the blood, the flesh, and the organs are all one. And the frankincense is not part of the mincha. It's clear that that's his whole reason. And you're telling me, no, I could have thought that his reason is that it's not part of the mincha. What do you mean you could have thought? That's what he says. So Gemara says, "My eina min mincha." When he says that, what is it? That it's not part of the mincha. What does it mean? Eina be'ikuv mincha. It doesn't affect the mincha. In other words, you don't have two matirim. By the sacrifice, you don't have two matirim. The blood gets offered up, and everything else becomes permissible. Over here, you offer up the kaimetz, then you can already eat the remnants. The levina has to be offered up, but doesn't affect the mincha. It's independent. The lav ki heichi de ma'akev l'kaimetz l'shirayim. It's not the same way that the kaimetz is ma'akev the shirayim. Shirayim means the remnants. You offer up the kaimetz, you can then eat the shirayim. The kamad lav meskater kaimetz, as long as you don't offer up the kaimetz, lemesachel shirayim, you can't eat the shirayim. Hachanami ma'akev l'lavayna. What is that supposed to say? I think it means to say that it's not ma'akev de levina. Eily iboy haimak de bereisha, v'iboy haimak de bereisha. Another way, what it means to say is that the kaimetz, I can't eat the shirayim until the kaimetz is brought, but you don't have to offer the levina after you bring the kaimetz. It's not that you bring the kaimetz and then you're allowed to bring the levina. So the kaimetz is mater the levina. That's not how it works. Really, the kaimetz is mater the shirayim. You can't eat the remnants until the kaimetz that are offering that scoop is brought up. But the levina I could bring before or